o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Kevin Boyles, Director Boyles, is remote tonight, so he'll be joining us remote, but I will step in to run the meeting from here so that we can participate live as well. So we will start with roll call, please.
Kevin Boyles.
Here.
Michelle Brecken.
Here.
DJ Dondelinger. Randy Heidman.
Here.
Sarah Spear.
Here.
John Ward.
Here.
Thank you. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll look for approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to say, Madam Chair, that, excuse me, that just due to an oversight, we were going to have one more item on there about talking about the student representatives on committees for the school board. But it was an oversight, and we'll do that in November instead. So I just wanted to point that out. And our student rep is, I think, going to come up and talk today at public comment, but she's been very, very instrumental in the whole process. Director Brecken, right? You agree with me on that?
Yes, I agree with that.
That's Reese Glenn, so thank you.
Great, we'll watch for that in November. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Michelle Brecken.
Yes.
DJ Dondelinger.
Jenna?
Yes.
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 Randy Heidman.
Yes.
Sarah Spear.
Yes.
John Ward.
Yes.
Kevin Boyles.
Yes.
All right. We are wrapping up the fall sports season. We've got a ton of recognitions here tonight. I'm glad to get us started. If anybody wants to jump in, we'll go maybe this direction. Congratulations to the Warrior Girls tennis team. They're the Central Lakes Conference champions for the 6th consecutive year. And congratulations to the Warrior Girls soccer team on their Central Lakes Conference championship and going undefeated in the Central Lakes Conference.
Okay, congratulations to the soccer coach, Nick Weeks, for being selected as the Section 8 AAA Boys Soccer Head Coach of the Year. And congratulations to Wendy Mattis and the BHS Key Club for taking first place in the Silver Division for their signature service project at the 2024 Key Club International Convention in July in Atlanta.
And I would like to congratulate the BHS FFA leader, Magnus Nelson. Magnus was awarded the honorary state FFA degree for outstanding service. This is the highest honor you can receive in the FFA organization. And congratulations to Forest View Middle School teacher, Deborah Schluter. Deborah has been selected for the Minnesota STA Teaching Award and will be recognized at the Minnesota COSE conference on November 1st. As part of the award, she will receive a $1,000 grant to support her ongoing outdoor ESTEP Earth Science project, which will take place in the forest. Only 2 teachers in the state are chosen for this honor, one at the elementary level and one at the high school level.
Excellent.
Nice.
Thank you and congratulations. All right, next up, we've got public input. We've got a number of folks tonight. And just as a reminder, a member of the public can address the board during this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Grant, and the Board of Education and Superintendent will not converse with guests to address the topics discussed at the actual time. All right, first up, we have Reese Glenn.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reese Glenn, a senior at Brainerd High School, and I'm here to talk about a new opportunity for students at Brainerd High School to serve as representatives on school board committees. Over the past couple months, I have been working with Superintendent Peter Grant, Principal Andrea Rusk, and school board members John Ward and Michelle Brecken to discuss the ins and outs of this opportunity and to formulate an application for students. Our vision is that all students at Brainerd High School will be able to apply to serve on the committee of their choosing if they meet these certain qualifications: maintaining good academic standing, receiving a recommendation from a staff member, and writing an essay why the student is interested in serving on the school board committees, how the student's presence on the committee would benefit the education system, and how the student intends to represent the interests of all District 181 students. Our hope is that applications will be reviewed in November and December, after which shortlisted applicants will be interviewed by the school board member of the committee they wish to serve on. This application process is designed to identify qualified and suitable student representatives while equipping students with valuable skills for the dozens of applications they'll have to fill out in the future. I could spend my time today discussing the details and specifics of this opportunity, but I want to focus on the significant impact it will have on the student representatives. As we all know, knowledge is power. Students having the chance to sit in on important, informative conversations will only increase their knowledge and understanding of what goes on behind the scenes in our district. Students have the right to be well-informed on decisions that concern them and their future here at Brainerd. And awareness and knowledge in the right hands can only result in intelligent conversations and involved individuals well-versed on current topics regarding education in our district. There are several takeaways that students can gain from this experience, but what about what we can contribute? No adult in education, no matter how involved, can provide the insight and perspective that a student can. We are in the midst of it all and face the full effects of the decisions the school board makes. Although student representatives won't have a vote, students' opinions are of value, and if considered, will lead to a momentous progress for our district. I assure you that students want to give you their feedback and are ready to be informed and a part of the big conversations. Our age and lack of life experience should not be a reason to exclude us from these conversations, but instead offer meaningful, unique perspectives this district deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. All right. Next up, we've got Ruby Shaw, please.
So I think one subject has never been mentioned in school: history. Last year I had a really great teacher who always gave me adequate coverage on history. This year feels like it was forgotten. So it would be really great if 20, even 10 minutes of our day were set aside for history. In history, we have done some bad things and some good things, but we have to learn those things so we don't make the same mistakes. Thank you.
Good job.
All right, next up, Sally Booth, please.
Okay. I taught in the Brainerd District for 34 years and had 2 children who went through here, so I'm very much invested in this district. A recent mailer from a group called Restore Our Schools continued the same shameful, disgusting lies and distortions that the brochure from Homecoming. Here's one thing. Dismiss parents' objections to pornographic and inappropriate content in our schools. I was at every single one of those meetings where people talked, and they were not parents. They weren't even grandparents. The parents said, "Don't tell me what my kids can do." And there's just, you'll probably get it in the mail. Anyway, half of the funding for this Restore Our Schools came from Mr. Donlinger through his company, to the tune of $6,000. Perfectly legal. It's it's an expenditure committee, and it's perfectly legal for him to do that. Is it ethical? These candidates that he is supporting have openly stated that they are in favor of school choice, taking money away from public schools and giving it to private schools. They say it right on their website. Why in the world would a board member of ISD 181 support these candidates? If you want to do that, Mr. Donlinger, I suggest you resign, because you have not shown that you are a supporter of ISD 181. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Doreen Island.
I choose to address more of the same. Before this meeting, I looked up the actual meanings of misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is just getting the facts wrong. Misinformation or disinformation is intentionally using wrong information. Basically, in my world where I grew up, it's called lying, to intentionally promote and continue the misinformation. Right now, most of our young people get their information from something called infomedia. Very few of them actually read daily news or find news sources that are accurate. They go by a lot of influencers and other people they see online. This is harmful to them. That has been proven over and over in a number of ways. When they're getting not accurate information, it's hard to develop the skill of critical thinking. Critical thinking is based on factual information, and I trust, just from hearing a couple of these younger school members here, that they know what to look for and that they will make good choices for themselves. The other thing is I have been an election judge for nearly 40 years. Integrity in elections is very important to me and is integral to our system and our democracy. If we're going to promote and go after certain school board members and promote this misinformation, that is a slap in the face of the integrity of the electoral process. That is not the way we would run our school or our country or this state for that matter. And I feel strongly, as you can tell, about elections. So please, please get the information, get accurate information, and please exercise your right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Next up, we have Amy Aho.
Hello, my name is Amy Aho, and I have been an educator with the Brainerd School District for 24 years. In addition to being an educator here, I was a proud Brainerd High School graduate, and both of my children attended Brainerd schools. In 2016, while I was a policy fellow through the Hubert H. Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota, my cohort completed in a 9-month project around political civility. Here we are, 8 years later, still engaging in some of the same conversations. I've been disappointed to see the negative tone that has become part of the school board election this year, from flyers being handed out at a football game to postcards in mailboxes that use misinformation and skewed information in to depict certain candidates as villains. It seems that some members of our community are less concerned with explaining why their preferred candidates are worthy of your vote than they are with ruining the reputation and good name of other candidates. The sad thing is kids are noticing. They see the adults in this community behaving badly by spreading insults and rumors, and they are learning that it's okay, often from the very people who express the most public concern with teaching morals and Christian values. People should be empowered to share their thoughts about candidates in a positive, productive way. That can be accomplished without innuendo, negativity, disinformation, and hidden sources, both of information and financial support. Please, let's be role models during this election season. Our students are watching.
Thank you, Amy. That's the last of public input. We'll move on to the approval of minutes.
So move.
I'll second.
Thank you. We've got a motion by Director Boyles and a second by Director Brecken. Any discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
TJ Dondelinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boyles,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
all in favor?
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Motion?
Thank you. Got a motion from Director Dondelinger
Second.
and a second from Director Heidman. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I was informed that my name is on the list this month, and so I will be abstaining.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted some clarification for the Spanish trip. Is that in 2026 or 2025? It says 2026 on the request for approval, so it is 2026?
Yes, yep.
Okay, great.
They're
Just wanted,
ahead of the game.
yeah, good for them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Randy Heineman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Abstain?
Kevin Boyles,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
DJ Dondelinger,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you. All right, we've got a couple of presentations tonight, but we'll start with BHS Student Council and Andrea Rusk, Principal Rusk, talking about cell phones.
Yes. Okay, you're gonna sit down next.
Well, my time will be very short because I'm going to leave the actual presentation meat to the leaders behind me. And so I'll just preface this by saying that our cell phone policy this year did not change from previous years. We've had the same language for many years. And the professional organization at the state level through the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals, following the statute that is requiring all school districts to have a cell phone policy in place by March of 2025, we're given two options to consider at the high school level, and one is to keep our policy that we have in language the same, which means that cell phones are being used or can be used before school, after school, during lunch, and in between class time, no phones during class time. And the second option was a prohibiting cell phone use from being used after the first bell until the last bell of the school day. So those are the two choices that we put in front of our student body recently. And in miraculous speed, within about 30 minutes, we had 1,252 high school students complete a survey. Anyone want to guess which one they chose to support? I'm going to let the students talk to you a little bit about their feelings about cell phone use and our policy at Brainerd High School. But I'll just say this, it was 98.7% to 1.3%. And I think you know which side they may land on. But I'm going to introduce Reese Glenn and have each of them introduce themselves and just give some quick input about the cell phone policy.
Great, thank you.
Hi again. I'm Reese, the student council president, and Superintendent Grant, he came into our last meeting and we all kind of gave some input about the current phone policy. And one thing that was talked about was how I feel like last year and in previous years, the teachers kind of weren't on the same page with the phone policy. Some teachers were a lot more lax with it and other teachers more strict. But now I feel like everyone has really gotten on the same page and there has been drastic improvement with little phone use in class. I mean, of course, you're gonna have those kids that, you know, just don't listen. But one important thing we were talking about is we, as high schoolers, once we get to the high school, we think and assume that we're gonna have more freedom and independence. And I think if we start to micromanage, then these kids are going to go out into the real world and lack self-discipline and independence. And I think if we micromanage, then they're just not gonna have their own skills as they go out with no supervision. And yeah, so I'll let Brady, you can give your 2 cents.
Hi, my name is Brady Davison. I'm a sophomore here at the high school. And I kind of just wanted to touch base on the trust between teachers and students. I think that this year and past years, we've kind of grown this trust with the phone policy of if you don't go on your phone, then it just kind of bonds that trust. And I think getting rid of those phones completely will kind of diminish that trust between the students and the teachers. They'll kind of have less inclination to trust those teachers versus when you're giving more of like an option of, not an option per se, but yeah, like a choice of phone, not in class, but still during passings, which is a great thing of communication between getting rides and after-school plans. I'm a really busy person. I know a lot of students are, and that's just kind of a great way of us to figure out our plans throughout the end of the day. We don't have time to plan prior to that. So I think it's a good way of contacting between passings. But I think the policy we have right now is a really good policy, and there's been growth, like Reese said. So I'll pass it over to Ryan.
Hello, my name is Ryan Larson. I know a few of you. I'm the Student Council Event Coordinator and the President of ASL Club. There's been a lot of good points and opinions, but this is coming from an online student. I take 6 online classes, and my phone is an amazing tool that I can use. I take pictures of my assignments, film videos, and can upload right onto all my D2L classes, and it's very easy, and it's a great tool, like I said. And also, kind of piggybacking off of Brady, communication is very important, especially for the Student Council Board during homecoming week and all our big major event weeks. We need to keep in touch with each other and make sure that everything's running smoothly so that we don't run into any issues and kind of prevent that barrier between everybody, including the teachers. And that's really it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia Johnson. I'm also a sophomore at Brainerd High School. They've summed up a lot of our good points of what we talked about, but another one of our big things we talked about at our last student council meeting was, again, students being able to have a choice when I feel like there's a lot more respect this year than in the past years. I think this year especially because everyone kind of has a general idea of what's going on. It's been a lot more enforced this year. I believe that everyone has kind of built up this mutual, you do this for me, I'm gonna sit in your class and listen. You're gonna teach me well and have an understanding of what I want. With this, I'm gonna put my phone away and listen to what you have to say. I think that especially within clubs in different classes, it can be a beneficial tool, like Ryan was saying. I think that they've summed up a lot of it, but I think that the fact that students were given a choice, and this year things have improved with students everyone being on the same page, and they have an option. They feel more responsibility put on them, and I think that also gave everyone a really good understanding of what needed to be done.
Sorry, I'm going to say one more thing. On behalf of our treasurer, he brought this up at the last meeting. He believes, and I think as a district, that we are really trying to move away from students going to online school. And I think there's a large consensus that if we enforce this phone ban, that a lot of kids will say, okay, if I don't have the freedom and I'm going to be, forced to not have my phone, or then they're going to move to the online schools. And I think we will see a drastic increase in online enrollment. And I don't think that's one of the goals for our district, and I believe that would ultimately decrease our academics, and I believe that's really important and one of our goals. So I think a lot of kids, without that lack of, like we had said, choice and freedom, would resort to online schooling. So that isn't the best, I guess.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair? Thank you. So could you folks tell us, in your opinion, what kind of % of usage in the classrooms has changed from previous years to this year? Did I state that okay?
So this year, I believe, especially what I've been seeing in my classes, is that because we have this mutual understanding, the phone usage has decreased a lot. Especially in I take an AP language and composition class. I think these kids are choosing to take this class specifically, and I think how do I word this? I think being at the high school, choosing the classes that you are wanting to take, especially this year, we have a lot more options. I think the phone usage has gone down drastically. I've been seeing a lot, personally, more people putting their phones away, keeping it on silent, and I just think it's gone down drastically this year.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? You see kids more engaged in the classroom now?
For sure.
During or after class, walking in the hallways, do you see more kids talking to each other? Instead of looking at their phone, bumping into everybody?
I mean, I personally have never really noticed that. I think, we're social creatures and social beings that, yes, there's the phone, but I think we still communicate okay regardless. I mean, I haven't noticed personally a difference, but yeah, I mean, it's 5 minutes passing time. I think we also talk a lot during class too sometimes. But yeah.
Great. Anything else for the group?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just super quick, I want to thank Principal Rusk and the students that are standing in front of you right now for taking the time not only to come in tonight to speak to the board, but for the work that you did on this to give us some perspective. We'll talk about a little bit more about what's next from a board standpoint when we get to the policy committee meeting update later in the meeting. So maybe stick around and you can kind of hear what's kind of next for us.
Thank you. Good point. Yes, thank you for taking the initiative and for bringing the information to this group and being connected to it. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next presentations are on the site continuous improvement goals. Director Christina Lundgren is going to lead the charge.
Hello. That's a tough act to follow, students. Okay, well, thank you. I'm here to introduce 3 of our principals. We had a charge to bring forth some summary overviews of the continuous improvement planning work that our sites did over the summer and the reflection of their goals from last year. So we're going to divide the presentations out over the next three meetings. We're going to hear from 3 of our principals this evening, and then we'll hear from more at the November meeting and then some more at the December meeting. So just kind of an overview of our continuous improvement process. Each site brings a team. In the summer, we meet in August for 2 days. And the work that they did this year, they reviewed site data from the 23-24 school year. And they were looking at whether or not they had met their goals that they had set the previous summer. If the goals were not met, they did some reflection about why might that be. And then they used that information to set their goals for this upcoming school year. We did do a shift this year. We asked that all sites set 1 literacy goal, 1 continuation of a goal from the previous year, and then they had the option of a continuation of a 3rd goal, or if they wanted to add a new goal for the year, they could do that. And then from there, the teams developed an action plan, the steps that they would take to meet their goal, timeline, data that they were going to collect, when they were going to review that data, and then move on from there. So tonight, really what we're going to do is we're going to share a reflection summary of their 23-24 goals, and then they're going to share their goals for the upcoming school year. So I'll introduce Martha Smithson first from Early Childhood Programming.
Hi.
Welcome.
So last year was my first year as principal, so I was able to really get to know our staff. And if you haven't already, I would encourage you to come and see our school. We have an incredible staff. I've learned a lot from them. They have an immense amount of wisdom and grit, and we've gone through a lot in the last year. So they're teaching me a lot of things and encouraging me along the way. This first goal that we had was the percentage of our early childhood VPK, which is voluntary preschool, of the students in literacy would increase their skills in their TS Gold assessment from 85 to 88%. That was only 38 of our children that were in VPK last year, so keeping that in mind. So 91% of those students were proficient, which was incredible. The next goal was having our birth to 3 staff going from individual resources of birth to 3 services to more defined and consistent roles of their service delivery and community resources. And our birth to 3 staff go into homes, daycares, and all the different natural environments for our birth to 3 families in the entire Brainerd School District. So they're driving to Garrison, Fort Ripley, and everywhere else. We had 4 new teachers last year, and learning the equip model and how to support all of our families was really a huge undertaking for them. And so building their capacity to understand everything that our community has to offer was a really big take on for them. And then our third goal was going from 3 classes using the Frog Street curriculum, and thank you for approving that in 2023, that we would have all of our classrooms use that Frog Street curriculum in the classroom, and that was also a really big deal for everyone in the school and every 3 and 4-year-old class to use a curriculum with Fidelity. So those were some big things that we did, and we have learned a lot. We've learned what is working and what's not working. We have some unique classes, and we have a lot of unique needs, so we know that there's still modifications and changes that we need to make. So now as we are looking at our new goals, we're continuing with the literacy goal, but now we have, instead of those 38 students, we're using all of our 4-year-olds as for our VPK data. So we got 176 students to get free preschool for VPK, and then we have special ed students included in that. So that's about 217 students that we're going to be assessing this year for our literacy and TS Gold, as well as gross motor. So we're focusing on those 2 areas to have really authentic documentation with TS Gold. That means that it's going to be ongoing, and we're going to be using all of our staff to provide that data. So this will be really exciting to see what we'll get in the spring. Another goal that we're focusing on is developing a supportive and value-based work environment, really focusing on trauma-informed care and building capacity with our core values. And our core values we have based on our school website and what our school district has shown. So grit, connection are really some big things that we're focusing on every month. But we're also focusing on trauma-informed care. We have different people that are coming in to give support. A therapy dog from Michelle. We have Angie Kleinfelter, who was a free service to our school that's providing 10 hours a month for trauma-informed support. And we've been writing grants too. So really exciting to see how we're going to grow this year together. So that's early childhood.
What's VPK?
Oh, sorry. Voluntary preschool. It's a grant through the state of Minnesota where our 4-year-olds are able to receive free preschool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so 38 to 176 is
I knew that. I knew the
pretty
number. I
big
didn't
for
know
Brainerd.
I didn't know what the acronym was.
Yes, yep, yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
And that was through grants that we got from the state to increase your population there, right?
Yeah, and it'll be guaranteed every year. So it's based similar to Title I. So we have schools that have a lower free and reduced population, like Riverside, Harrison, Garfield. And so we have students that really we want to give access to preschool, and that includes free transportation. It's general ed transportation, and then they get free meals as well. So it's meant to be a feeder program to be able to support these students to get ready for kindergarten and to increase the attendance, hopefully, as they come to Brainerd School in their kindergarten year. Yeah.
Thanks.
It's a great program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have Jody Kennedy, principal of Garfield Elementary.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting us visit tonight. I am here representing Garfield Elementary School. I have been at that site now for 10 years. That's a long time, and we have had a lot of work that we have been doing for many years. And tonight you're going to kind of see what our goals were from last year. Some of those have been ongoing for many years as we have been working not on a one and done type implementation, but definitely trying to solidify some of our systems. So our first goal is that our proficiency rate on the reading MCA and MTAS accountability test would grow from 39% to 42%. The exciting news is it actually grew 10%. It went from 39 to 49.1, which was a total of 108 students in our 3rd and 4th grade passing the reading MCA test last year. Our second goal was around the proficiency rate on math state accountability tests, and we had a very consistent score in the 50th percentile, and again came in at about the 50th percentile. That is currently higher than the district average at 50% in math and higher than the state average. Our third goal was around decreasing our office referrals or our referrals to what we call the behavior intervention room, a place where kids can take a break if they're dysregulated or having a difficult time. In the year 2022-23, we had 456 referrals either to the office or to that space. And our hope was to decrease that to 300 in this past year, 23-24. Our results were not quite what we were hoping for. We did have a reduction to 410 referrals, but we also had multiple staffing changes throughout the course of the year. Some people had left positions that were very critical, including some of the skills-based opportunities for our interventions in social emotional learning. So we knew we had some factors that might have factored into that, but the good news I can also report was that in 2022-23, those 456 referrals were from 96 students in our population, and our reduction to 410 referrals only involved 66 students, 45 of which had 2 or less referrals to the office. So we are definitely decreasing the amount of children exhibiting larger amounts of behavior, which we are also seeing translate to more classroom learning time and also more students increasing their performance. So that was very exciting. For the upcoming school year, we are going to continue to raise the bar to get that literacy score up. Our goal, we felt we could get to 55% this year. That would be an additional 6 students passing or meeting those standards for the MCAs. We are continuing our goal around self-regulation, skill understanding, and also strategy instruction. Again, having kids in seats present in learning when they are engaged and able to regulate themselves does equate to children performing better. And we have started that work. That is a mission we have been on probably now for about 6 to 7 years. It started with a morning meeting being brought back into every classroom about 7 years ago, and that work has become standard, and we're now adding more layers of support on top to help those children, as Martha was saying, who are struggling to deal with some trauma-based issues. We see a lot of that in our population and certainly want to help to support those needs. Our last goal is our data dig goal, and we are still all in the world of learning FastBridge and hoping to take that information and translate that into interventions and instruction, both in the core Tier 1 level and also the Tier 2 level, smaller group support, to help those specific gaps that kids might have, filling some of those deep hole gaps that maybe things didn't settle and land or stick when they were in kindergarten, as we might have hoped, that maybe first grade things didn't stick or hold, but now we're seeing in second grade that those holes still exist. So we have used a lot of the data over the last few years and are hoping to have more success with our FastBridge also to help fill those holes. We do believe that has also increased our children's abilities and scores over the last couple of years. So it's been fun work. Do you have any questions?
So I have one. So did you drop the math goal? Or is it still there? It's just not on your list of 3, or how does that work? Or is this all to do with literacy?
This is literacy, self-regulation skills, and then that FastBridge one incorporates both math and reading. And our FastBridge goal is actually built around the number of kids increasing their overall growth for the year. So that will impact every learner in reading and math across our whole system, not just kids in 3rd and 4th grade who take an MCA test. So this is now a K4 goal.
Gotcha.
That last one.
And we're all learning more about FastBridge. How's it going? I mean,
It's actually going really well. We had team meetings this fall after FastBridge assessments were taken where we could help dig deeper into all of those reports. I think getting to know the material as it's there and figuring out where the pieces we really need to hone in for what that instruction looks like when students' gaps are identified is where we're at right now. And we're moving forward into our first rounds of that Tier 1 intervention in core. So what does the whole class need? And then we have Tier 2 supports that help the smaller group or what might individual learners need.
yeah, I mean, I've been quite impressed with this whole concept of FastBridge. I mean, get to the students quicker, intervene quicker, instead of waiting maybe like we maybe did 5 years ago or whatever.
It's a great screening tool that helps identify a population of kids we can dig into deeper with other tools, but it does get that list to us pretty quick, yes.
So that's a good thing.
Great. Any additional questions for Principal Kennedy?
How do your discipline referrals look to date for this year?
I have no kids. No, I'm just kidding. It's great. Things are off to a good start. We have definitely seen an increase of children who in our earlier grades are struggling with that regulation component still. Those tier 2 skill supports are in place and we are starting those groups, but that has been our biggest challenge. I did have a kindergartner say to me the third day of school, so do we come here and do the same thing every day? And I kind of wanted to say yes, but I could tell that he maybe wasn't quite that excited to do everything the same every day. So yeah, it's interesting to see what they're excited about. And I've also had some kids this year who told me, well, if I was the principal, I would have different rules. So here's exciting things. Kids want to be in education. I am going to have somebody who will replace me someday. I'm just not sure who, but there are many candidates at the table. So we are seeing, like I said, I think a smaller population of kids with a little bit more intense need is what I would say to the beginning of our year so far.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Great. Any additional questions? Thank you for putting these clear goals together for your school to be able to ladder up to those and to understand what's expected.
Yeah, it helps. It helps everybody to be on the same page. Yeah. So I have loved this process. I've now been doing this 13 years, but it is to help to clarify what our needs are. That needs assessment that we give to get to some of this, and also the data we have really helps us to solidify a plan that can make action happen for our kids.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
And then last introductions of the hostage open.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
You can see up there, I have 2 different programs that we operate under at the Brainerd Learning Center. One is our middle level alternative program, and we serve students in grades 7 and 8. And then we have our high school program that has students in grades 9 through 12 plus. So our first goal was in relation to the MCA math accountability test. In 2023, we didn't have any students successfully be proficient in the math test, but in 2024, we had 5.3% of our students. So our goal was 3%, and we surpassed that with 5.3%. So it's an exciting meet there. Our second goal was regarding the reading MCA test, and in 2023 we had 33.3% proficient, and our goal was 36.3. We almost met that, didn't quite. What you can see in both of those groups or cell sizes is that we have a pretty small population to draw from, so 1 or 2 students swings that percentage pretty far. So we were excited about that math goal. And in our middle level program, we had 11% proficient in 2023, and our goal was 14%. And last year we had 17.6% proficient. So that was exciting. And in 2023 for our reading in our middle level program, we had 28.6% proficient, and our goal was 31.6. We didn't quite reach that, but we'll continue to work on both reading and math in all of our programming moving forward. Our biggest area that we focus on with our alternative students is re-engaging them in school and finding success in school again. And we can see that they're finding success. We would like them to be more proficient on some tests, but that will come as they find more engagement. Do I do this?
These are your new goals.
What? Down? Oh,
you
there we
go.
go. Beautiful. So we kind of, during our continuous improvement retreat in August, we kind of shifted gears a little bit and wanted to focus more on faster results, like Director Heidman was talking about earlier. We can make change quicker. So we're going to use the FastBridge assessments, and we want to see growth in our students, not necessarily. We do want to see them pass the MCA test, but we want to see them having growth. So we are going with a goal this year for our literacy, and that will be that the students that were enrolled on October 10th, that 75% of those enrolled with us that day, or by that day, will show growth on those FastBridge tests by the spring of 2025. We are also, I'm going to skip down to that data dig one on the bottom. We're also going to do that in reading and in math. And what's really exciting is this year we are going to implement some intervention time during our school day, coming up probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we are going to have 30 minutes of intervention 3 days a week, and very purposeful from our fall FastBridge data, and also teacher recommendations in reading, math, and social emotional learning. So all the students that are in our seat-based program, so in grades 7 through 10, they will all get an intervention based on their needs. So we're excited about that. We are going to continue working on our math accountability test, our MCA test, and we would really like to see an increase in that. So we're going to work on from 4% to 8%, and then also in our middle level program, go from 17% to 24%. Questions?
How often are those FastBridge reading assessments given? Is it 4 times a year?
3 times a year. We have a fall, a winter, and then a spring.
And the fall is where we get the baseline.
Yes.
See how,
Yes.
and that's what we're looking for, is growth. During
Growth from that.
the baseline.
I thought they were new. I thought they were, yeah, I think you have this. I just don't know what it's called. I thought there were these new deals where you just give them these quick little deals and you can, like, it's not really a FastBridge like the whole school's doing it. It's more like you have availability to kind of spot check them until you can kind of realize who's doing what. Is that true?
Benchmarking, yes, yes. So you wouldn't test everybody, but you just give them like a quick 2-minute test to see if you can, if the intervention that you had been providing was making an impact.
Do you see good results?
I haven't done any.
Oh.
Because
That's a new thing.
this is all new. We will be. We're going to actually do our benchmarking about every 6 weeks. We're going to give our intervention 6 weeks.
And then check it instead of waiting for your FastBridge to come out in
Correct.
February. When
Correct.
It's getting kind of late. I think it's a great idea. The sooner you can get on it, the better off you're going to be, I would think.
That's what we're hoping.
Well, let's hope you're right.
Who decides those benchmarks? Is that something that the teacher's deciding, or is that through the FastBridge reading?
I'm not exactly positive, but I think the benchmark scores come from FastBridge, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a student scores, I mean, it's whatever they're scoring, and
Correct.
we read it through FastBridge, and that becomes the baseline or the benchmark.
Correct.
Great. Any additional questions?
It should be noted, Madam Chair, that your 4 goals that you had up there, Principal Hapachoki, 3 of them you increased. Maybe you didn't meet the criteria, but you increased the goal. And that's really important with the students that you have in your facility, because those kids weren't engaged and aren't engaged and now are engaged, and the statistics show that. So nice job.
Thank you.
Great.
Perfect.
Cool.
Who's going to win the baseball? We know you know.
Thank you. Yes. Now we head into new business, and we've got a presentation from Director Lundgren on the World's Best Workforce Annual Report.
questions? Okay, so this is, we are bringing to the school board the annual summary report of our World's Best Workforce goals from last school year. So this is the 23-24 summary report. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be asking approval for the summary report. So World's Best Workforce, Statute 120B, is just to ensure that school districts in Minnesota enhance student achievement through teaching and learning supports. And there are 4 goal areas as part of the World's Best Workforce. And schools can decide the goal or set the goals within each of those general areas. So our first category, all students are ready for school. So last year's goal was around the percentage of students proficient on early childhood summative assessments. And our result was, again, the 91%. So we had met that goal. That was a 1-year goal. And the other component is just to talk about some of the things that we had put in place for action steps last year. And as the principals discussed in their presentations, a lot of this work is ongoing. So some of the work that we did last year was first year implementation, which would be continuing into the school year. Some of the work that we did last year was even selecting resources that we're going to be using, that we're implementing this year. And some of the items of action steps, we're selecting some professional learning opportunities for teachers that we are implementing this year. So these are a continuous process towards these goals. So last year, as Principal Smithson talked about, they implemented the Frog Street curriculum at the early childhood programming, and they selected and began using the TS Gold assessment tool for that observation of student progress and growth in early childhood. Closing the achievement gap between student groups, that's the second category. And so we set the goal of looking at the achievement gap between students in special education programming and non-special education programming. Again, this was a 1-year goal. We did not meet that goal last year. Some of the things that we started working on last year and that we are continuing with for this upcoming school year. Last year was that first year of implementing FastBridge as the screener tool. And last year, our special education teachers started using the progress monitoring tools, looking at the identifying skill gaps, assigning interventions, and then monitoring the progress towards developing those skills with those tools in FastBridge. District-wide, we implemented the multi-tiered systems of support structures, and we're working on refining that last year. That is work that is continuing into this upcoming school year. The elementary literacy coaches worked on revising the elementary word study curriculum, if that's the right language for that. And that, I'm gonna use my notes for this one, is a focus on phonics, phonemic awareness, and spelling. And it's designed to be systematic, sequential, and then have explicit instruction. So those were revision to that curriculum, and then that's being implemented this school year. And then the other piece around closing the achievement gap is we developed the professional learning plan for teachers for this school year. And our 2 focus areas, one was around literacy, where we are participating in OLA, which is the Online Literacy and Language Academy. And that's the professional learning around structured literacy and evidence-based reading instruction. So teachers pre-K through grade 6, core teachers, our special education teachers and intervention teachers and EL teachers are participating in that professional learning this year, and that's ongoing over the course of the year. And then our 7-12 core teachers, they are participating in something called MDAL, which is Minnesota Data and Assessment Literacy, and that's around using assessment information to shift your instruction to respond to where students are at in their learning. So that's a course that they're taking throughout the duration of the year. And then they're doing some work around core instruction and looking at instructional practices to support Tier 1 core instruction. All students have career and college ready by graduation. Oh, and then I have the wrong thing in there. We have a typo with the goal. Sorry about that. So we did not meet this goal. That was looking at the accountability components from the MCA. There are some specific questions that are related to college and career readiness. We did not meet that goal. But some of the action steps that we're taking around career and college ready, we implemented the Warrior Pathways at the high school. Last year was the first year of implementation for that. So trying to be intentional with supporting students in course selection to make decisions that will help them move in the direction they would like to go to post high school graduation. And then last year we also implemented a resource called School Links, which is a college career and life planning tool where students can do some intentional course planning. They can track volunteer experiences, scholarship opportunities, work experiences, do college applications, do some intentional planning around some self-awareness of where they'd like to go moving forward. And then all students graduate is the last goal area, and that goal we did meet. And so just working again towards all students graduating, kind of coming back to some of those other pieces that we've looked at earlier, implementing and refining the MTSS structures to support our students in their learning. And then again, that focus of that professional learning plan to help teachers with developing core instruction practices to support our students. I think that is it. So that is the summary. And then I linked in the one page, this is just the actual summary of the annual report.
What exactly is Warrior Pathways?
So previously, I don't know if you're familiar with Bridges Career Pathways. That was the kind of the previous nomenclature, but basically what it is, it's looking at what is an area of interest for students. So maybe I want to do something in agriculture, or maybe I want to do something with health and human services or music, and that's where I'd like to go once I leave school. And do I want to go to college, a four-year college? Do I want to look at a two-year college? Do I want to look at a certification? What opportunities are available in that area? So I'm exploring an area of learning. And then the pathways are to help provide some intentionality with that. So if I want to go into the agricultural field, what courses can I take as a high school student to help me move in that direction? Or to find out if I'm interested in really pursuing that line of learning. It also provides opportunities for some work experience around agriculture, to do a volunteer experience, and it can be specific to that area.
How old are these kids?
How old are the kids?
The ones that can do the pathways? I mean, you're not gonna do that to fourth graders.
No, ninth grade, 9th through 12th.
Ninth grade. So is there anyone there that's helping coach them, like there's a ton of jobs in this field, or is this just, this is what I wanna be, and so let's go for it?
So that's what we're working on, is moving down that
Like
direction.
a little bit
Right
of coaching,
now-
like you're gonna make more money doing this, or do you wanna travel? There's really no jobs in Minnesota for that. You're gonna have to move to the ocean, or, you know what I'm saying?
So in School Links, that's one of the resources, is they have career cluster modules, I guess would be the word for it. So there's information about, in, again, agriculture, what are possible careers in that field? Where would I maybe find a job in that field? What's the pay scale? What education do I need?
So it is there.
Yeah, yep, so
That's
that's in
good.
that School Link. So we are really just in the beginning stages, so we just started this last year. So we're still working on refining that kind of that coaching and communication piece. But that's what we're continuing to work on this school year.
I was encouraged at Forest View, my understanding is they're even talking to some of the kids at Forest View what some of their interests are, even though they may not show up in this goal and these results. To me, personal opinion, if we can find out what turns these kids on, they're gonna love coming to school. And they're gonna learn because they wanna learn, because they're interested in the subject matter. So I was encouraged to hear that Forestry was even looking at, nothing to the extent that's being done at the high school, but it was kind of cool.
Conversations.
Huh?
Beginning conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm encouraged by that. This is good stuff. Good stuff.
Great. I don't know if this is the way to phrase this question, but how many pathways are there at the Brainerd High School?
So if you look at the back of the shirt that you have there.
Oh, we've seen this.
Hey, yes, okay, now, now I get.
That was handy, actually.
That was perfect.
So those are the pathways.
Okay.
And then I think we have 23 concentrations.
Yep, okay.
So we tried to provide some diversity. And then we also wanted to provide some flexibility too. So I'm not, maybe as a ninth grade student, I think I want to go into agriculture. I'm interested, I want to start exploring
Who would
that.
know in
But
ninth grade?
then my sophomore, when I'm a 10th grader, I'm like, that's not really for me. So I can shift. So we tried to provide some overlap. And really it's about exploration, understanding of yourself, where you feel successful, what do you enjoy. And then we're trying to just provide some intentionality with planning as the opportunities that you have at high school to move in that direction.
Remember last year, Michelle, we were given that manual for courses?
The course
I mean,
catalog.
it looked like a college course catalog, but they had a whole section there
Yeah.
for career pathways. It's really cool. It really is cool.
Well, on career pathways, it's as valuable to find out what I don't want to do versus what I think I want to do. And all of this career pathways has evolved over years, from the jobs program to service learning, to bridges, to, now we have career pathways. So it's evolved and tweaked and gotten very, very well done, to the point that, as you said, Director Heidemann, build it and they will come. If they find something they like, they're gonna get all in. Well, I did have a question though on Christina, you, on the number of the goals that weren't met, that weren't met. What needs to be done in order to help meet those? What can we as a district do to try to help reach those goals? And outside of money,
So.
are there things?
Well, I would say our focus this year is really step one is that professional learning around the literacy instruction. And then tier one core instruction. Those are the two pieces that we're focusing on right now.
Okay.
To really look at the instructional moves that we have available for teachers to respond to students. And then using information to respond in that moment to student needs, which I think we talked about, sooner than later. I think that's the starting point.
Okay.
So that's our focus in this moment, and then we'll shift once we have a chance to implement that learning. We'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is junior achievement still around? Or is that gone?
I don't think so.
I don't know that we do it anymore.
It still exists.
Yeah.
We don't have a district-wide program.
Lost its funding.
Thank you, Lord.
Here, I'll go back to you. You're back on.
There you go.
I just wanted to make sure people knew I was still awake.
Great.
Was that something, junior achievement, was that something to do with the YMCA or YWCA?
No, but it was like,
Or is that-
No, it
outsiders would come in and teach it, so.
Okay,
Teachers would go to
Okay,
training
okay.
to learn how to do a very structured way of doing like a book study,
okay.
and they would read rich tech literature and text and learn how to have conversations and
Cool.
discourse.
Cool. Lots of hands-on.
Lots of hands-on.
Lots of
learning,
hands-on.
yeah. Most districts have it as an after-school. I don't know if Brainerd's past practice.
Yeah, we had it during school day.
Well, it kind of falls into this category a little bit.
I love the new format of the report out. It's makes it very clear, and I like to be able to see bulleted out what's been kind of made for progress, so I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so our business tonight, we do have a proposed motion on the agenda to approve this report. So this is last year's World's Best Workforce Annual Report, kind of a summary of how things went last year that we have to deliver to the state.
Is that the second thing on our agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of, goes with this presentation,
Yeah.
so to speak. Yeah,
I mean, I read it before we got here, but.
yeah.
Well, I make a motion, we approve the 23-24 World's Best Workforce Annual Report.
Got a motion?
Second.
We've got a motion from Director Brecken and a second from Director Dondelinger. Any additional discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boyles,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
DJ Dondelinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman.
Yes.
All in favor?
Thank you. All right, next piece.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great work.
Thanks.
Next piece of new business is the approval of the first reading of Policy 435, which is access to employee mailboxes in the district's internal mail system. And I believe we have
Ollie,
Ollie.
he's here. Sound come
Is he?
in.
He's here,
Yeah?
yep.
Oh, great.
Originally, we wasn't sure if we needed him to,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
waiting.
Good evening.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. So I wasn't sure if I was doing a presentation or I can certainly entertain any questions that you have.
I know we've got a couple of folks on the school board that are members of the policy committee. Anything you would want to bring forward in regards to this policy?
Well, we talked about it in the policy meeting. The 435 is a new policy that was developed by Ollie. Thank you. Got a lot of good stuff in it. And this has to do with employees and staff. I do believe that we still have language in here about students. I don't know, do we need to remove that language? I think we talked about it, and I'm still seeing it in here. But that's a minor issue. If you could maybe give a little background as to why you developed a new policy.
Sure, I can do that. You are familiar with board policy already, but I'm saying this for the benefit of those that are watching and individuals that are in the room. Board policy has 9 sections, and section 500 pertains to student. Section 900 pertains to non-school persons or community members. And section 400 pertains to employees and personnel. And so we currently have 2 policies that were developed back in 1995 that are related to section 500, which is pertaining to students. And I believe this board revised it recently in 2024, so you're familiar with that. We also have section 900 and a policy that's similar to the 500 that pertains to non-school person that was also developed as a template by the Minnesota School Board Association as well as the Minnesota Association of School Administrators. and was revised by this board back in 2024 as well. So we don't have, when you look at section 400, we don't have something that addresses an employee. And so that's one of the reasons why this policy was developed. Certainly, the political environments play a role in it. So this is unique in the state of Minnesota in that it's not a model policy by either the Minnesota Association of School Board or the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, unlike the other two policies in section 500 and 900.
Great, thank you.
So as an employee, if I'm looking at distribution and some guidelines on that, I would not go to the 500 section because that pertains to student. I would not look at the 900 section that pertains to non-school members or the community. In this case, this policy would easily give employees access to a section that pertains to employees and personnel, which addresses distribution as well as putting materials that would advocate for one candidate versus another in employee mailboxes.
Yeah, I think that was the key reason why the policy was developed. With everything going on with this election this year, I can't keep my head above water, but a lot of stuff has happened, and it was something that we need to address, and I think we've done it. My only question too is, how did we leave the policy meeting, Peter? We've still got 505?
Yes, 505.
And that needs to be addressed too, because there were procedures in there for handing out material. And I don't know if we're gonna change 505 or remove that, move the language over into 435, or I guess when we left the meeting, I was,
Is 505 the student policy and 435 is the staff policy?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
but the 500 level policy kind of at least implied staff stuff from the syntax of it a little bit. So the idea was to get the 900 level, the 500 level, and the 400 level to be roughly uniform in terms of how they're worded, because each only pertains to a specific layer, right? 400 is, well, Ali already told you.
Yeah.
And remember, this is a first reading, so by statute, we have to read this 2 more times before it becomes a final policy.
Correct. Do you feel that this brings us into alignment with those other 2 policies, just based on the discussion at the committee?
Randy, are you feeling that there's some overlap between the 505 and the 435?
I'd have to look again at the language in
Okay.
505.
But is that what you're,
Yeah, I can't remember 505 if it dealt with employees, staff, and students.
okay.
It kind of like Kevin mentioned, there seems to be, there's some implied language there that maybe just needs to be clarified and cleaned up, probably.
To Director Boyle's point, so we've got a couple more readings of this. I'm comfortable tonight if we made a motion to move forward with this, and then when you bring it back to policy, take a look at it and make sure that it doesn't go against itself in our other policies. I'm sure there's alignment there, but.
I mean, I would yield to Ollie and Mr. Grant too, but that was kind of how we came out of policy committee meeting with it was, the idea was to get this out there so that the board conceptually understood what was being attempted. And then, to get them to go back and make sure that it's uniform as much as possible and that we clean that up in the next policy committee meeting and bring it back to the board.
Correct.
Great.
Well, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Madam Chair, sorry, go ahead.
Let's vote on this, and then we'll come back for more discussion. Does that work for you?
No,
Okay.
I just have one question, if I could, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Ali, how much input did the employees have in the creation of this?
I would love the opportunity to, well, what I'm used to is when there's a policy that we placed it somewhere publicly so that others can see it and have the opportunity everyone within the community can see it, have an opportunity to make suggestion. That would be ideal. And I would love that practice in this district if we can do that. What I have done from my standpoint is to make sure that the policy does no harm, to make sure that any case law that we refer to has not been overturned, that the statutes that we reference are currently in place and has not been overturned by the legislature. And so we have done our due diligence in that sense. But certainly, we can always improve in terms of input because this policy applies to our colleagues within the district, and we want to make sure that we can do any way we can find a way to ensure that others have input and access. It's going to improve the policy. And so if it's a practice of the district to do that, if it's not, I'm game in terms of doing that.
I agree. I think that gets us to a better outcome, the folks
Yes.
that actually have to enforce the policy and enact it close to it. Good. All right, we have a motion on the floor from Director Dondelinger and a second by Director Brecken. Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boils,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
DJ Dondelinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear.
Yes. Thank you. All right, and our last order of new business is approval to change the December 9th school board meeting to December 10th.
Motion.
Excellent. We got a
Heck, right?
motion from Director Dondelinger
I'll second.
and a second from Director Brecken. I will just add for just information, the reason behind that is because it interferes with the Brainerd Public Schools Foundation fundraiser that evening, and so we'd all like to be there to support that. All right, any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Kevin Boils,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
DJ Dondelinger.
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, we'll move on to committee meeting updates. Director Heidman, the Policy and Community Relations Committee.
Well, this will be short and sweet because we talked about most everything tonight already, so there's no point in me reiterating what we did except for one item, and that would be Anne Marie from the facility fee situation that we have going on with Gitche Zibby, that we talked about memorandums of understanding when someone is looking to get a discount on something, that a further discussion would need to be, et cetera. And we kind of came out of committee saying that, yeah, you know what, maybe we don't need to be offering discounts either. But she would like to have a little support when she does get some pushback from people, either from the Peter's executive cabinet or even from the school board, to be part of that decision-making process. So that's kind of was really the only thing that is new as far as policy notes are concerned. So we already talked about cell phones, and we just got done talking about 505 and 435, et cetera. So that's my report, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you for that. Our next-
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may, I'll tack on to Director Heidman's report as it relates to cell phones, because when the students spoke earlier, I mentioned that I was going to talk about this a little bit. I think just so everybody really watching understands the timeline, we did a resolution back during the summer at policy committee that we passed at the board level back in, I think, August, that bound this board to take action on cell phone policy at this meeting or the November meeting. So there will be an agenda item on the November meeting, and that agenda item will be basically approving either sticking with the cell phone policy that we do have per what we heard from the students tonight, or if something comes forward between now and the next meeting where other board members want us to debate it more as it relates to the full day ban versus the current status quo that we're using. So I think, if for anybody listening, if you're trying to get feedback to your board members, this would be definitely the time to do that. And if we get feedback like that, we have a contingency plan to do another policy and community relations committee meeting in November if we need to. Right now, we do not want to have one scheduled. So I just wanted to add that flavor.
Thank you for that. That's a great addition. All right, let's see. Our next committee update is the Curriculum Instruction and Staff Development Committee. And I can give a little bit of an update on that. We also saw much of that here tonight at the meeting. So thank you, Director Lundgren, on the World's Best Workforce and the change that's coming for that. So you'll hear us referring to that as the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Plan into the future. Also, we were given access to some of the Fast Bridge reporting, as well as the plan for the professional learning plan for staff for the year, and the ACES report from the state, and that is based on self-reporting in the student surveys that go out to grades 6, 9, and 12. And we have a district advisory committee meeting on Monday, for those interested. Anything you would add, Director Heidman?
No.
All right,
No.
great. Next up, we have some informational and Brainerd Public Schools Foundation. I can give a brief update on that. As we talked about, the annual bingo event is December 9th, so stay tuned for more information coming out about that. Put it on your calendar. It's a Monday. The 4A grant cycle is open for applications for educators through tomorrow at midnight. So if you're working on an application, you have through tomorrow at midnight. And just a reminder, those are for academics, activities, and arts and athletics. Last year, the foundation committed $52,000 between the fall and spring cycles to fund those activities that were brought forward by educators. The big event is February 8th, and the Warrior Worn sale continues. Proceeds for that are going to go to school pantries. So just a quick update on it. Great stuff happening. All right, business services report is next up. Director Marcy Lord.
Good evening. In your board packet is the enrollment report, and we are down 10 from last month. The 5-year average is about 7, so we're a little bit higher, but not much. Nothing else to note on that. And then the financial report is in there as well. Nothing, above the 1% variance other than the construction fund, and we're winding down on that one. So the audit starts tomorrow, just giving a quick update on that. And then if you guys noticed in your board packet under the consent agenda, the Trade House notice was changed to proposal because we didn't receive any bids. So hoping that if we get that out there, the first person to submit their proposal, we can maybe sell the house. It'll be open until January, but first come, first serve. We'll get the posting in the paper and all that good stuff. Any questions?
I know this is probably not in your wheelhouse, but have we ever thought with the house to do a slab-on-grade house with in-floor heating? That seems to be the way construction is going these days. If the kids wouldn't learn something new, possibly, and make it easier to sell, and probably sell it for a higher price. Just throwing that out for whatever it's worth.
Well, I think the problem is, Randy, is that in order to do that, then they have to go off-site.
Oh, they would have to go off-site?
Well, how would you put the cement down with the heat in it? Pretty soon you'd have
Thank
houses
you.
all the way around the high school.
Duh.
I will tell you that it sounds great, but in-floor heating is a lot of money. And I don't know if that's the intent of the program.
It's not that hot enough.
Understand. But yeah, Director Donlinger just told me, duh, you got to have slapped to put it in.
Fill the parking lot up across the street.
Yeah.
We'll leave that up to
Every year it
them.
just gets a little smaller.
Thank you.
Anything else for Director
Strike
Lord?
my comments, Marcy.
Are you sticking around here for a second afterwards? As I talk about the thing tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
All right, superintendent's report.
Oh, boy.
Well, about a week ago, Garfield had their inappropriate call that came and forced the lockdown. And I think we learned an awful lot about what we do and what we do know what to do, but there's some things we didn't know what to do. And one of the things is, what do we do if In this particular case, the building principal was out of the building at the time, and so was the secretary. So thankfully, though, the people that were filling in or helping take over the building that day for supervision, they were really quick to react and so forth. And the interesting part, though, is that as we sat down with all the principals and directors following that, a lot of questions came up about procedures, policies, and so forth, and something just as simple as about every building has an emergency button, and the question is, when are you supposed to push the button? And the question is, you push it. Don't worry about what happens. Push the button, because all that does is it goes to dispatch. They determine who's going to come to that building or that site. So fortunately, nothing bad happened. But there is, you know, for the Garfield staff, I think there's still a little bit of concern about how they feel going after that period. And the simple fact that we have to sharpen our pencil a little bit better on how we are going to respond. And it was just interesting that there was just a gap of time where between the time the call was made to when the police arrived, nobody called. You know, you push the button, the police are going to respond. So we're looking at our crisis response information to make it easier for the principals and everybody to know what to do. But those at Garfield, they did a great job of keeping the kids safe, keeping the kids calm. And even I want to thank the parents for the way they conducted themselves. Several came to the school and they were wondering what's going on because, you know, you can't stop social media once it's gone. It's got wheels. And the parents were very good, even though some of them wanted to take their students out of the building. We had a procedure for that to happen so that the student would be walked to the door by an adult, and the student had to identify, yes, that's the person who's going to take me home. And of course, some of the times the students were saying, why am I not going to stay in school? And we let the parents take care of that part. So it was an unfortunate incident, but it was also a growing one and one that we learned quite a bit from, which is really important. And you know, I just thank Garfield staff and the Brainerd Police Department for doing a great job helping us. And they worked hard, and you know, they got answers that needed to get found. So that was the best part about that. Other than that, if you look at the calendar, you can see that starting in November, there's going to be all kinds of concerts and so forth going on. And it's an opportunity for the public to come in and see the talents of our kids, which is really our way of showing what our talent is and to welcome the public in and enjoy some really outstanding music. It's always a great time of the year between basically the beginning of November to the end of December where the holidays kick in and all these festivities happen. And fortunately, we have really talented kids that we can put up and have people come and watch and listen and appreciate the work that our music department does and so forth. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And in the GZ, I can't wait to go and watch this. This is going to be great. This will be super. So that's about it.
Excellent. Yes. Talented musicians and talented instructors.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Director updates. Let's start on this end. Director Dundeling or anything?
All right, I would just like to apologize for how crazy things have gotten in this election. For the whole board, for myself for sure. I can't speak for the board, but I can speak for myself. You know, we've got false allegations against 3 people that are running. That'll be dropped tomorrow. Now I guess that I guess I did the postcard, I'm not sure. I won't use any names, but you know, the reason we have a mailbox policy now is because of hanky-panky that's been happening on the other side. And it's kind of embarrassing. I never thought this would get to this level. As far as my involvement in that deal today, I also give $10,000 a year to hockey, since we're gonna get into it. And I give money to Ducks Unlimited, but I don't get to pick who's on the hockey team. right? I had no idea about what they were gonna do. I just knew the side I was on, you know? And I'm sure that you guys, when you put money in the plate at church, do you know what they're gonna do with it? So I'm not approving anything. I'm not involved. I was accused at the last meeting for the deal with the football game. So I don't know what I've done, but I agree with you. It looks tacky. We can do better. Peter talked about us last Saturday, and I think going forward, I think we just need to stay above board and try to stay out of the weeds. You know what I'm saying? So there's my 2 bits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Brecken?
So, the last board meeting, I was tasked with, kind of a big, a big job to develop a mental health task force for the district. And so I just wanted to do a quick little update. On Wednesday, I'll be attending a Community Bridgemakers Mental Health meeting, resource group meeting at Sourcewell. That will give me the opportunity to connect with Region 5 stakeholders. We're going to explore resources in our community and then collaborate to develop a strategic plan for the vision and mission of our District 181 Mental Health Task Force. I've had a number of educators reach out to me who would like to be on this committee. So I'm looking forward to getting this off the ground, but it's pretty daunting to make sure that we're doing a good job, not only meeting the mental health needs of our students, but also of their staff.
Great. Thank you for taking that on. Dr. Heidman?
Yeah, I just got one thing to say. I can't wait till November 6th. I have not been involved in anything. I've been accused of things. I have not been involved in anything. As far as the homecoming football game, I was helping plan my mother's celebration of life. Wasn't even near this community. And I was accused of certain things. So I'm over it. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. The important thing is this district needs to move forward, no matter who is elected come November 5th. And we have to come together as a board. We have to come together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ward?
Well, tonight we witnessed student representation and participation from a 10-year-old to an 18-year-old. And the 10-year-old, I want everybody to know, at the candidate forum, came up to me at the end of the candidate forum that we had recently and handed me her little note card saying, I didn't get to say this tonight. Can I say it at a board meeting? And that, to me, is powerful. When a little 10-year-old wants to give their feelings and input versus an 18-year-old and 17 and 16-year-old and 15-year-old want to give their input. So, you know, I'm really excited about this whole student representation on committees and the ability to have the students' voices heard. I also, Peter, I also, Superintendent Grant, I just also appreciate the fact that you brought up the Garfield thing, and I just wanted to expound on it on one or more little items on that. Principal Kennedy was at a conference, at an educational conference, that's why she was not in the building, and Principal Kennedy, I didn't know she's still here, she came back to her building immediately. And I think that needed to be pointed out also, because she was there in a heartbeat, and she was gone a distance away. So, and then as was Superintendent Grant said, the staff were absolutely amazing, but there has been some additional. It's a traumatic experience. There's no doubt about it. So as an educator, I can't imagine having received that call and having my students. It's traumatic. So we need to. I agree with you, Superintendent Grant. We need to look at how can we, continue to support our emotional status of our staff and our students and our families and our parents when something like this happens. And hopefully, pray the Lord will never have that happen again in Brainerd. But if it does, let us be prepared.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ward. Director Boyles?
I have nothing. Thank you.
The only thing I would add to just some of the conversation we've had tonight, and we've had this discussion as a board before, is that our power as a board, our only authority as a board is when we act as one and not as individuals. And so when we make decisions as one unit, and we support the district as one unit, and everything we do is in one voice. And I appreciate that about this group, and the ability to rise above what's happening right now and move on, because that's where the district needs us to be as decision makers and as a unit. All right, let's see, we've got a few future meetings on here. Thank you for pointing out the musical concerts. And the last thing on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion as second. We'll do a roll call. I'm assuming there's no discussion.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
EJ Dunlinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yeah.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boyle.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.